recording.
If I shut something off, I thought. Oh, that seems really loose.
Good? Oh, on your laptop. Okay. Well, I have 6 o'clock, so we'll call the meeting to order. We have a quorum. And I think, has everybody had a chance to look through the minutes from last month?
Be approved as written.
I'll second it. All in favor? There's your copy back. Okay, Brian's not here tonight. He gave me a little update. Everything's okay with the sewer. That's the main thing, so, he got that mess cleaned up, so all is good there. Do you guys have anything?
Got a couple of things
Okay.
for your records. Certisite was here and did the ovens, filters above the range.
Yeah.
And that's not a very good copy, but I think they should send you something, Valerie.
Yeah,
Yeah.
$304.
And the second thing is, Lori Ballinger sent a note that the Brownfield project is being closed out, and they should be sending you a letter saying that that's ready.
Well, I got an email. I looked through it. I have not followed up on it. I've been kind of swamped with stuff, so I will get on that.
Oh, she'll be sending you a letter, she said, and it takes up about maybe a month, maybe a little longer to get that off.
Just to get from the post office to Indianapolis and back in.
Yeah, the trouble is Indianapolis doesn't get it here very quickly.
I know.
And then, in conjunction with that, the Fulton Liberty Lions Club building is completed and passed inspection with
Looks
the
good.
county. And the door code is available, we'll get that to you as soon as that's.
You guys just need to keep that to yourself, I think.
I think Brian's wanting to bring the mower up there, is that okay with you?
That's fine with me, but I don't need that code.
Okay. Also, the digital sign, speed limit sign is not working on the south end of town.
Okay.
So if we could have Brian look at that. And that's all I have for today.
Okay, you got all that? Bill? Okay. Does everybody know Bill?
Yeah.
Okay. Andy, did you have anything for us?
No, there was some chatter, I don't think I was here last month, but there was some chatter last time about finalizing a use agreement for the building. Do you have any more on that? You want me to start, you ready for me to start drafting something?
They want you to draft something, and then they had a question too about insurability on the building for liability, number one. Number two would be loss of contents, and also the building would be whose responsibility. It's the Lions Club building, it's on the community property.
Yeah, the first answer I have is yes, both should have insurance. The Lions Club, every party should insure their own contents. But as to who would, in the event of,
A catastrophic fire.
who would go first?
Yeah.
Okay? Whoever owns the ground under the property would come first.
Okay.
That's the insurance that would generally be approached first if there's an event. Now, if there's a third party, if there's just loss to the structure, that's part of what the agreement can put together. If the agreement essentially needs to say, in exchange for letting us put this improvement on the town structure, the club gives the town the ability to do X, Y, and Z. Then what I would say is each party is fully responsible for ensuring its own contents. Just to waive the idea that the club would have to pay for damage to a town's property or vice versa. Okay? But in terms of if we want to say that the structure of the property, that is the sticks and bricks, or in this case steel, I think, if we're going to say that steel still belongs to the Lions Club, and the Lions Club should insure it, then we should use the use the agreement to say that. And I would suggest that the Lions Club treat the steel building itself as tangible personal property and insure it just like it does the contents. And talk to its agent to see if you could do that. But if you want to kind of shoot me an email outlining everything that's been discussed and talked about, I can draft an agreement.
Okay, they'll be meeting next Tuesday, so
Okay.
once that's concluded, then I'll send you an email on that.
Sounds good.
And then what about property? It's one thing, but what about the insurability for someone who's injured on the property?
Yeah, premises liability, that's why I'm saying it's premises liability is going to follow the town. That is,
Okay.
I have a feeling that if the club went to purchase premises liability for a storage building it put on someone else's property, the insurance company is going to say, that's indistinguishable from insuring someone else's property, and
Right.
you don't have an insurable interest in that sense.
Okay.
Now, both entities can still have a general liability umbrella, and it may apply to that, but strictly speaking, premises liability follows the dirt.
Okay.
That's the way you think about it.
All right. Well, I'll get back with you after the meeting next week and let you know what they decide on that.
Okay. I don't think I did have one other thing that I thought about. Indiana has expanded a little bit the availability of executive session meetings under the open door law. So they've carved out a few extra exceptions, like before July 1, it was somewhat difficult for a public entity to have a meeting to discuss a particular employee if it wasn't a discipline issue, if it wasn't, that. And now you have a little more, you still can make decisions, but you have a little more freedom if you call an executive session to discuss kind of general employment issues. They added some things to that. If you want to discuss the contents of an employee handbook, right, you can now have an executive session for that. It used to be that in order to have a private discussion with your attorney, you had to have litigation threatened in writing, right? And now they've expanded that and say, no, we know you're not making decisions in executive session. You can now have a discussion with your attorney, essentially behind closed doors, as long as you're not making a decision, and you don't have to have litigation threatened in writing. So just some, I think some reasonable ways to open that door a little bit and allow a little more freedom for town boards to meet executive session. You guys, I don't think I've had more than 2 executive sessions since I've been doing it, and that's fine. You're not required to, but oftentimes is the need for executive session in some cities and towns gets greater when you're managing a lot more employees or that kind of thing. And so I thought they felt like their hands were really tied in some unfortunate ways, and the General Assembly was able to amend that and kind of free that up a little bit. So I just wanted to talk about that in case that comes up.
Okay.
Does that cover us if we're incorporating some of the emails that come to us from other cities and towns that are asking questions regarding policy and procedures per se? I mean, we don't make a decision.
You know what I do with those? I just delete them.
I do too, but I haven't
You mean
seen.
other cities and towns say, hey, what do you guys do about this? What do you do about
Right,
this?
yeah.
No, you can't have an executive session to discuss that, I don't think.
Okay.
Because I think you're discussing what's already policy in that case. But you also don't have to have a meeting at all to reply to it. You don't have to sit and have a meeting. But,
I just find that something that I don't want to do.
Yeah, well, I just look at a few of them, like when they come from Rochester or the town of Fulton, from the town clerk.
Oh, yeah,
That's it.
okay. Ladies, who wants to go first?
Would you like me to go first? Okay, my name is Laura. I know Phil and Tim, I know of Valerie, but not a whole lot, but I just live a mile outside of Fulton on State Road 114. And I came here today because I'm concerned. And so I put together like a little letter so that way I don't miss any highlights or anything. So if you'll give me a few minutes, I would love to discuss a few things, because if I don't tell you guys about them, you don't know. So the past few weeks, I have been faced with pressing criminal trespassing charges against a new citizen of the town of Fulton. This gentleman visited my place of business 3 times within a 1-week period. He was asking for a job opportunity. However, 3 separate times he was told we were not hiring. The final straw is when this gentleman stopped at one of my job sites asking my employees for a job. Let it be clear, he wasn't looking for work, he was looking for something to steal. After doing a brief background check, this gentleman had eviction, littering, theft, and possession of meth charges filed against him in recent months. Less than a week later, this exact same gentleman was being tracked down by Fulton County's police dog and was charged with domestic violence. Our quiet streets of Fulton are no longer safe for our children to play without parents worrying about the new neighbors that are shuffling in and out of the homes that are used as rental properties and not maintained. To make this point clear about our streets not being safe, there are 11 registered sex and violent offenders that are located 5 miles from my house. And that doesn't account for the offenders that are not registered in the system that have fallen through the cracks. The town board may no longer sit idle and continue to watch the small town spiral downward as residents are becoming extremely frustrated. Please help us as concerned citizens understand these questions. How is the town board addressing the problematic neighbors, as many items have been stolen within the town recently?
Can I stop you there for a second? I don't disagree with anything you said so far, but have police reports been filed for thefts?
I don't know.
You did.
I filed a police report, yes.
Okay.
Yes,
Can you
I
dis-
sure did.
Can you disclose the type of filings you made with county, state, or?
Yes, it was with the county, and if he stepped foot on my property again, I was to call 911 and he would be trespassing.
Okay, thank you.
There is no need for someone to be at my place of business 3 times within a week.
Yeah,
And actually, he came twice to he came to my place of business once, and then the second time he came within an hour, the same day.
okay.
So yes, I have reached out to law enforcement, and then it was a week later, the police dog was looking for him. So yes, I have filed.
I just wanted to ask
Yes.
a question, and, please relay that to other people. Anything that you have has been stolen needs to be reported.
Yes.
We need to get that case
Yes.
built.
I agree. Everything on my end, I have done so. So, my question is, I know there is a town officer that is paid by the town.
Part-time.
Are any of these issues being passed along to him? Because I don't know.
Yes.
I mean-
Verbally.
I'm outside of town, so mine goes through the town, or through the county. So, I mean, is everything that is going on in the town, is that being relayed to him? Because,
Well, that's what I'm saying. Without police reports, without things, I mean, when I hear things, when I see things, I let him know. Okay? But if we don't have the documentation, then not a lot gets done.
right, it's hearsay,
Yeah.
yes. And that was my biggest concern is I know there is someone part-time, I feel like they should be running in the streets. I mean, every time I go through the town, that car is sitting idle. It's not working. I mean, when Walker Conley was up doing his job, I mean, he was working the streets. Now we have kids roaming the streets at 11 o'clock, 12 o'clock. I mean, my son was coming home from curfew the other night, and there were kids cartwheeling across 25. Somebody is going to get hurt. I mean, I feel like if you're paying a gentleman to patrol the town of Fulton, he needs to be doing his job. That's no different than someone else ghosting their hours because they're not working.
Well, we have a change coming in that department, so we will, and this evening I will call our marshal and tell him what you're saying.
Yeah, and granted, I don't know who the current marshal is, but like when Walker Conley was out patrolling the streets, he would also he would relay to the zoning department what was going on and what needed fixed up and whatnot. Like he helped keep Fulton clean.
Mm-hmm.
Now granted, we're facing all new things these days. However, it's just spiraling in the wrong direction. So, okay, so let me get back to my notes here. So my biggest thing is who is enforcing the zoning requirements. I understand that's the zoning department, but I feel like the zoning department does not know unless we communicate it to them.
Okay, our town marshal does issue citations, warnings. There's a process for that, and those are being handed out.
And in conjunction with some of the properties in the town of Fulton, we have had Heather down here from zoning board, I think maybe 6 or 8 months ago, maybe it's been a year now, I lost track of that time. And they did go through and they took pictures of some properties that needed to be addressed. But to my knowledge, I don't know that anything was done. I never heard any follow-up on any of that.
I mean,
Right.
again, we have multiple things. We have renters, they have rights. The landlord has rights. It's not like we could just go clean stuff up for them.
That's correct.
Yeah.
Right.
So,
Okay, so unfortunately, the town cannot control who purchases the homes in Fulton. However, the town can work with the zoning department jointly and enforce the rules and regulations to protect the homeowners that do take pride in their properties. Like, I completely understand that we must all work together in order to achieve getting the town back to what it once was, but it is achievable. Like, very achievable. It's just...
well, I beat myself up on this all the time. I don't like it any more than you do, and I live in town. And I see stuff, I call and report things. But my feelings are, and don't get mad at me, it's gonna get worse before it gets better.
But I don't think it can get much worse.
Oh, yeah.
Like, when you have
Well,
a garage full of trash...
We have a transient population going in and out of these rental properties, and nothing's being done to clean them up or fix them up, and just every time somebody moves out, somebody else comes in, it's worse.
That's not to say that the county shouldn't be helping us to make sure that these properties are maintained in a decent and orderly fashion.
I mean, there's only so much they can do. I mean, we're not Nazis.
Right, but I thought, like, and granted, correct me if I'm wrong, if you have a vehicle at your house, you have to have a plate on it. I mean, you can't let it sit there for years, because
Right.
you stroll around Fulton, and that's not being enforced. I mean, that's something simple. I mean, we have an RV, gosh, I don't know, how long has that RV been parked out there? I
That's
mean,
not on town property.
so whose property is it?
That still belongs to CSX Railroad.
It's out far enough, that's, the railroad property still out that far?
Remember, one time there was a depot there,
Yeah.
so that is not our property.
Has the railroad been contacted?
They don't answer their calls, I've called them before.
You know?
They don't address it. They're down in Florida, their main office for their legal. They don't even address it. I even offered to buy the property from them, just to clean it up, and they will not sell it.
So basically, the people that are back there on their property, basically, just,
No, you're talking about way back. You're
Yeah.
talking about way back, he's talking about that RV thing.
yeah, but it's all in the
But
same
it's all the
strip.
same. They own all the way
It's all in the
through
same
there.
strip there.
They own that whole strip from Highway 25.
And if they're over on
out.
the railroad
Well,
property,
they own
125.
from
County road,
wherever the
basically.
railroad starts
Well,
to.
that's odd, because back there in the corner is being messed too, so.
yeah, that's what I'm speaking of. They're just hanging out on railroad property. They're not on the property they own, they're actually on railroad property, and it's a mess.
But it goes back to a vehicle being abandoned should, whether it's on town property, private property, whatever, they need to either be addressed to either get a plate put on it, keep it up, or move it and take it to a junkyard.
Well, is there a plate on it?
Not to my knowledge, no. Not a legal one.
We have other vehicles that's been sitting in town for years and years with no plates.
I know, almost got a ticket for one. I was driving
I
it.
mean, we drove it up around and you almost can't see there's a vehicle in there, so obviously it's been in there for a while.
Andy, have you got any thoughts on this subject?
Like, who enforces these codes? Like I said, the codes are there, they've been there for years. Why are they no longer being enforced?
My thoughts are keep in mind, there are two types of codes. It's easier to think of it this way. You have the town, what I'll call maybe nuisance ordinances. Keep in mind, as a municipal entity, the town cannot create crimes. It can only create civil infractions, okay? So it can create certain nuisance ordinances. Those are for the town to enforce through its marshal, okay? Alternatively, if there is no marshal, there can be a code enforcement officer. If your marshal decided, you know, they were gonna quit, and you were without a marshal for 6 months, the president of the council, under Indiana law, the president of the town council is actually the head executive, okay? And so you could snap a picture of it, and if it violates a local ordinance, you could send me the picture, I could prepare an affidavit, I could file an ordinance violation in Superior Court, okay? So you have the inherent authority to enforce that. The easiest and most common way is through a marshal, but it isn't the only way. The second set of ordinances are the kind that generally go under building and sidewalk enforcement and the unsafe building codes, any building specifications. The town has an agreement with the Fulton County Plan Commission. So that's where Heather Redinger comes in. The town has an agreement with her office to enforce those, okay? As does Rochester, as does Akron, as does Kiwanis. And Kiwanis might be a little different, but there is, I think the most efficient way, knowing how her office works, I think the most efficient way for her office to get information from the town is probably an address. Like someone from the town to email her, and I'm happy to do it if you want to tell me, email her the address so that she can put it on the building inspector's list to go out and look. Now, the unsafe building code usually works this way. A municipality like a town simply adopts the state code in its entirety. So almost every community that has unsafe building enforcement simply uses the local ordinance and piggybacks it to the state code. And so it's uniform in that respect. What's hard to remember is that the unsafe building ordinance is not a great name because it does encompass some things that you and I might not consider safety. So the unsafe building ordinance could get into some aesthetic things, like, extreme degradation of a roof. That's not necessarily unsafe if it's just gonna rain on you for a while. It could be broken windows that aren't necessarily, it doesn't mean the house is gonna come down on you, but that's an unsafe building violation. So, with anything that goes to Heather's office, the easiest way to do that is to send her the address, say, hey, we reported this address, so she knows it's on her radar. It starts with her sending an inspector out, and they can write up, send a violation letter. That violation letter, when it gets to, and they can start imposing fines, when it gets to a certain point, they can send not just a notice, but a building inspector order. So the building inspector order, and you haven't had a lot of these, but we had a couple. The building inspector order basically sets it for a hearing in front of you. You guys act as the kind of a quasi-judicial capacity. You're the hearing officer on the building inspector order. The unsafe building code does not allow me as the town attorney to take someone to court before that hearing has happened. So the owner is entitled to a hearing on all those issues in front of you, and you can either affirm the building inspector's order, which means you're instructing me to go ahead and take it to court order, or number two, you can deny the building inspector order, and you could say, no, I don't think this is a big deal, let it go. Or you can take some further action, and it's very common to say, all right, we're going to table it for 30 days, but we expect to see improvement, okay? So you guys can use Heather's office to get more of those hearings at your meetings, whether they're regular meetings or special meetings.
So if you do that and you table it for 30 days, can you go back and take step two and send it to you to say,
Yeah.
go ahead?
Yeah,
We've had the hearing.
You can
we've had
take, yeah, you can table it for 30 days and then affirm it at the next meeting and,
Okay.
and send it to me. So the difference by and large between her office's actions and things your marshal might write up, from my perspective, everything that comes out of Heather's office has to have that administrative hearing. In a bigger community, you wouldn't do it yourself. You've had some other person who's the administrative officer, but you're going to be your own. Most of the things that come from her office, before they can have teeth, they need a building inspector order, and they usually send out one notice before they go out and do the order. And they're entitled to this administrative hearing in front of you. It's a form of due process. And then if you guys affirm the order, you're basically saying, I think it's valid, I think it's a problem, you haven't addressed it, and you tell me to sue. Things that come from your own ordinances, okay, let's say trash ordinances are very common, okay, for cities and towns. You, usually through the marshal, could write up a citation for a violation of the trash ordinance, and the way we have it set up with the cities and towns in this county is your marshal can send that right to the clerk, and it's now a civil case, kind of like a small claims case. The clerk sets up a cause of action, notifies me. I show up and meet the person at court at the initial hearing. Generally what I do is send them something in advance that says, this is a civil case, it's not a criminal case. You can reach an agreement for, a $50 fine plus court costs, whatever you guys instruct me to do. But it's not like a speeding ticket. They can't just walk into the clerk's office and pay it. It's a civil case that needs an agreement, it needs a resolution, right? And so with most of the municipalities that I do code enforcement for, that's the standard position, is that, hey, unless this is a repeat offense, first time is, you're giving me the authority to agree to a $50 fine plus about $137 in court costs, okay? So about $180 in total that they're going to be judgment for. That's kind of step one. You also have the authority for either, let me back up. When you take someone to court, there are essentially two kinds of remedies. They're money judgment remedies, which are all civil fines, they're just judgment remedies. And then there are what we call injunctions. An injunction is when you get an order from a court to tell someone to do something. In either of these types of cases, whether they're the unsafe building case or the trash write-up case that will come from your own ordinances. Either one of those can seek an injunction. I very seldom get a request to pursue an injunction for a trash issue. I mean, usually, if you don't want to pay another $180 in a month or two, you're probably going to pick up the trash. That's usually good enough. There are some issues, particularly with the building code stuff, where we need, the money judgment is not going to be a good enough motivator, so I asked the court for an injunction. I want you to order this person to fix this problem. Order this person to remove the junk cars, but it has to be something that we have an ordinance on. Order this person to, with building code, it may be fix broken windows. Be broken windows, violation of building code. Judge, here's the judgment, but also order them to do it. And if they don't have it done in 30 days, I'm gonna say, Judge, they don't have it done. Authorize the town to go do it, and authorize the town to take the cost that took them to do it, add it to the judgment, and then record it at the recorder's office, and now it's collected like taxes are collected. And if it doesn't get paid, we can't do that with fines, but we can do that with the remediation, with the cost of fixing it. And if the town hires someone and it costs $1,200 to fix a couple of broken windows, that's gonna go on their taxes next year, okay? There's a procedure for all that. The other option, and sometimes this is effective, sometimes it's not. The other thing you can do with an injunction that you can't do with a judgment is if someone doesn't pay a judgment, you have a lien on the property, you can, if the judgment's high enough and worth your time, you can seek garnishments to get that paid, any like you could with any other civil judgment. But the magic thing about an injunction is if they don't do it, I can ask the judge to hold them in contempt of court for not doing it. Okay? And some of them, that does get their attention. They don't want to be held in contempt. They don't care about fines because they think they're judgment proof. You can't collect them against them anyway. But you say, now the judge is ordering you to show up and explain yourself, or he's going to hold you in contempt. Sometimes that gets their attention. But that's a process. None of that stuff can happen in the blink of an eye. But I would say one way, if you have some problem properties, start by getting the addresses, getting the time, getting some pictures, and if those seem to be building code issues, email it to Heather's office, and if it's something the marshal can enforce, then the marshal can write the citation and send it to the clerk, and they can directly create a court case out of that.
So I know when Heather was here, I think Kim Gard was with her, they took pictures in town.
Yeah.
Do they keep those on file?
Oh, I'm sure they do.
I'm
sure they do.
This would be like repeat offenders or people.
Well, and
that
that's just
absolutely
it.
nothing.
If you let her know and they look at it and it's something they flag, maybe they flagged some of these and sent warning letters 6 months ago.
Well, I think we should take pictures and take them to Ken or to
Sure.
Heather and
That's
let
fine.
them review their files and see if this is an ongoing thing that hasn't been addressed for 2 years or a
Sure.
year or whatever.
Sure.
So basically, had they been reporting to zoning and then it just fell through the cracks? I mean, what are you thinking?
Everything has been reported. Well, maybe not in the last week, but yeah, stuff has been reported, and
I have a question. So with what you're saying, now who's responsible if it's a landlord-renter situation? Does that put it onto the landlord?
Depends what the behavior is.
That the landlord is responsible, so you're basically putting heat on the landlord, like, hey, you gotta get these properties cleaned up, regardless of who's renting them, it's your responsibility, because they're the ones that's gonna basically.
Well, depends what their behavior is. There are some cities and towns that have ordinances, and you look at the violation, and you're like, well, that probably could only be the occupant of the property. And so you write the occupant. For example, dog off a leash. Well, that could be a local ordinance, and it's tough to write the landlord up. anything that goes through the Plan Commission's office, those notices always go to the tax record address. So it's almost always the owner of the property who gets that notice. And the owner of the property who's legally responsible for building issues. But, you know, sometimes you have multiple. Sometimes you have some issues, dog off the leash, well, the officer has to walk out and try and figure out who the dog belongs to. He's not gonna check the auditor's office for the tax records and just write up wherever the dog happened to be. I mean, I've had dogs wander onto my lawn, I wouldn't want him to do that. But most of the things that create problem properties, that notice is gonna go to the owner of the property. That's who's responsible. It's not the town's job to figure out whose brother-in-law is staying in it for a month or crashing there and write them up for a violation. It's much more effective to go right to the owner. Because the owner's the one who doesn't want to have a judgment lien against the property.
Okay, that answers questions. We'll get some pictures taken and we'll get them up there and again, and maybe we can do a better job following up this time.
What office is Heather with? Is she zoning?
Planning.
Planning.
Heather is the executive director of the Fulton County Plan Commission.
And that's what everybody calls zoning, but it's the planning
Yes.
commission.
Okay.
It's in the annex building downstairs.
The building inspector I mentioned works for her. One of her employees is the building inspector.
But the building inspector is not going to look at the outside though?
Yes, it will.
It will, okay.
Now, the building inspector has a lot to do with the appearance of the property. In fact, 2 weeks ago, we had to get a warrant to inspect the inside of the building because a property owner in Rochester denied access. And that's not something in this community we have to do very often. You know, usually most of the things are obvious, but this has been a property that Heather and also the fire chief needed to see the inside of. And the owner didn't want to allow access, so he had to get a warrant, just like you get a search warrant or anything else. But Heather has agreements with all the cities and towns to enforce their building code, because it's still their code, even though she's a county employee, it's their code. In a larger community, like the city of Warsaw doesn't need to rely on a Kosciuszko County employee to make a deal to enforce the building code. They just hire their own person. You know, a Warsaw employee would enforce the building code and do the write-ups. So it's different everywhere, but that's what she does.
Okay.
So if we see something, we say something, who do we say it to? Who's our first go-to? If we feel like a building needs condemned.
One of us.
It's against fire code, or you're kind of worried that these people are just gonna break this house to hang it out, or
I
as you
would be
say-
careful about, again, what you say about fire codes. Are you an expert on fire codes?
No, but I'm just saying that there's some kind of concern, because when you see a property that's obviously that bad, I'm just trying to get examples here, but you see something and you want, who do you want to report it to? Because yes, it's gonna be investigated. I'm not gonna investigate it, I'm not gonna go over there and knock on their door and run around their house, but.
We'll get some pictures taken and get them in. And we'll get that done
If there's
soon.
windows out, if you see places where there's windows out, it's vacant, there's windows, it's just trashed, I mean,
Trash is a problem and lots of extra vehicles parked around, I get it.
Just one more thing. If it's an emergency, or it's something where a person appears to be at risk or in distress, call 911. Don't leave these guys a note that says, hey, I saw a 3-year-old crawling out a broken second-story window.
Yeah,
That's
correct.
a 911 call, not a town council call.
Yeah.
It is important to make sure that you document what's transpiring. If this is happening at 3 o'clock in the afternoon, kids are out of school, and and they're coming home, some child is going in there by themselves, and they're only 3 or 5 years old, 7 years old, you don't see any adults around, that might be a concern.
I will tell you, if that's the case, kids coming home from school, Caston bus drivers are real good about not dropping kids off
Exactly.
if there's nobody there. That happens, that gets called in like every day, someplace. So those kids are not dropped off if there's not somebody there.
But don't second guess all that. If
Yeah.
you got concerns, just call 911. That's the best thing to do, because there's patrols out there anyway. They'll come pretty quickly.
Are you aware of the graffiti that was sprayed around town with the red paint can?
No.
That's why I say it would be very nice to have the town police officer do his job. Because what was written on the buildings is not, it is not good.
What, can you tell me where? I'll go look.
I believe it's already been
Where?
covered
It's
up,
already been painted over.
Okay.
but it left the business owner with the responsibility to cover it up.
Okay.
And I mean,
And the neighboring business wasn't very happy about it either because it pertained to their employees, so.
And I mean, that could have been anybody.
yes.
It
Yes, it
also
could have
was
been.
after hours and before hours, so probably in the night when there was nobody around.
Did you happen to photograph any of that?
It was turned into the sheriff's office.
Okay, good. Especially when it deals with things of that nature, it should go straight forward up to the police
But I don't know if
department.
the other people did that, so.
Yeah.
Okay, anything else? We still have some other things to do here, so. Well, thanks for coming. We appreciate your concern. And believe me, we're all concerned also.
Well, I don't want it trickling out my way.
You're saying we could keep it up.
You know.
You were alone.
You know,
We had the same person in our place of business, and we had to deal with that, so I know where you're at.
well, I just know some of my stuff ended up in his front yard, so that's why so yeah.
What else you got for us, Val?
I have two ordinances for the rainy day fund and the Fulton County forgivable loan discussed at last meeting, just
Right.
a formality.
Okay, ordinance 8-19-2025-1 to pay insurance one community center insurance bill shortage, $4,000 used from the rainy day fund.
Motion to authorize.
Second. All in favor? Okay, ordinance 8-19-2025-2 to pay Hoosier X for $2,515, cleaning both lift stations, and Flow Techniques Incorporated for $1,817, inspection of both lift stations, labor and supplies. Total $4,332 using Fulton County forgivable loan fund.
Motion to pay bills is aforementioned.
Second. All in favor?
This is a salary ordinance for next year, the sewer and the town.
Okay, town salary ordinance. This will go in next year's budget, correct? To be resolved by the town of Fulton on the 15th day of October 2024, that's when it gets submitted. The town council approves the following salaries for the year of 2025. Councilman, $2,000 per year each. Clerk treasurer, $8,652 per year. Deputy clerk, which we currently don't have, right, would be $10 per hour. Town marshal, that's 55-1, $14 per hour. Deputy marshal, $13.50 an hour. Street labor, $10 per hour. Cleaning community center, $15 per hour. Mileage is 70 cents per mile. That's established by the state of Indiana. And meals, $36 per day.
Motion to approve.
What was the deputy?
$13.50 an hour.
Deputy for the sheriff, for the marshal.
Hmm?
That's a deputy.
Deputy marshal.
Is 13.
They have a marshal and a deputy marshal here.
Yeah, I just was asking about the marshal. What's the marshal like?
$14 an hour. Again, all of our marshals, deputy marshals are all current officers at other agencies, and this is a part-time job for them.
So there's actually two? Is that correct? A marshal and then a deputy?
We have a couple of deputies.
Okay.
And again, they work when they can.
Right.
And I'll say this right now, every law enforcement agency in the state of Indiana is doing ICE stuff. So,
Motion to approve salary.
all in favor? And just so you know, another thing we got going on with property taxes, we're probably gonna have less money to work with, which we don't have a lot now. Okay, sewer salary ordinance, so we have like a separate sewer board thing. We're all on it. So the sewer trustee gets $500 a year, so we're all overpaid doing this job. The sewer clerk, that's Val, gets $9,738 per year. And sewer maintenance is $16 per hour. And that would be $24 for, overtime. And mileage, again, with state guidelines, is 70 cents per mile. That's for personal vehicle usage. So,
And that maintenance, that's Brian now, correct?
yeah, sewer maintenance, yeah. And that's his main thing. We could all go to jail if that doesn't go well. So.
Motion to approve for the sewer salary.
Second, all in favor?
I don't want to go to jail.
No.
We can visit.
It's a sticky job with somebody.
Yeah, something like that.
So just so you know, Brian is doing a really good job with
I
the
second
sewer.
that, you're doing a great job.
We had our annual inspection from Indiana Department of Environmental Management, and everything was good, no problems.
You're doing a very good job.
Considering all he's went through, somebody probably don't know, but he had a pretty strenuous 6 months. Those pumps went out, pipes had to be removed, and replaced, and valves were broken, and we spent a lot of money on that sewer system up there, and he was right there the whole time. So
That
part of
This
the job.
sanitary sewer in town is a cash cow. Every spring we spend a
Do we
lot of
ever
money.
ask any of for assistance or help from them as far as, and this gets a little mucky for me, but I know because my son works at Logansport,
It's a completely different kind of system.
and I know that he said sometimes they go into some of the other smaller towns and do
Well,
assistance and help with some things if they need help or whatever.
We have a guy who's a certified sewer guy, and he actually does all our testing. And we pay him, and he coaches Brian and helps with Brian. And he knows everything there is to know about sewers. And to be perfectly honest, when we hired him, it was a cost savings for the town because he actually physically does all the water testing that has to be done, where prior it was outsourced to a lab and it was much more expensive. So I think we're in good shape there. So, is that it with you?
There's
Yeah,
a lot of
payrolls.
information for these, in these folders, if you, I don't know.
Okay, the financial stuff.
That just has that to do with R&R asphalt.
Right,
We paid a total of $17,997.50 total
okay.
this month on the bill.
How about, did that get split up so that?
It did.
Okay,
Was that reimbursed?
Yeah, they wrote a check, Fulton Baptist Temple wrote a check for,
Okay.
they're part of the street,
Yes.
their driveway.
they billed it, I asked them to bill Wright Street by itself, and then I divided it by two and emailed the billing to me, and I picked up the check, and I mailed them together.
Okay.
Okay, well, was this more than the amount that we voted and approved?
Let's see.
We had 9,000 for one and 6,000 or 7,000, I thought, for the other.
Yeah, that sounds right. So I think this was,
But Brian had to do stuff that I wasn't aware of. They did Atkins and Miller Street on the corner there. And where that drain was at.
okay.
And there was something else too that I wasn't.
But I still think, if memory serves me right, that this falls into the total amount of what we voted and approved.
I'm right offhand,
It's awfully
and it was
close.
close, but yeah. You know, they paved underneath the recycle bin, and right out here, the drain is when you come in.
Okay. Okay, and this is our payment to the USDA for the, we're still paying for the sewer, by the way. So $17,950 our annual payment.
September 1st, yeah.
The town had to borrow $1 million to put that sanitary sewer in.
Do we know what the balance of this is?
It's still years, so I don't know.
The outstanding principal is 220,000.
Yeah,
So what was the option?
we didn't have an option. I mean, I don't think any of us wanted to do it. We did not have the option. It was forced
It is what
on
it
us
is.
by IDAM.
What do you do about people that don't pay their sewer bill?
File liens.
Do you have very many that don't pay?
It's not as bad as it used to be, but yeah, we have outstanding liens.
I did 3 today for the month, but off and on, there's months that I don't have to. It's usually
You just let it get to a certain amount and then do the lien?
less than $300, then it's $50, we charge $50 for release, and the lien is $25, and the release is $25, and Rochester charges $20, so it's $70 total fees besides the amount owed for the sewer.
So is that paid by the homeowner too? Or is the town eating that
It's,
cost?
it's to the homeowner, and it's a sewer lien on the property, and it's paid either summer, spring, or fall
With taxes.
Yeah.
Gets added onto the property tax.
Yeah.
Okay. You don't need to initial these. Did we get some more opioid money?
A little. I had to do a report. Just that these, here you can have to sign,
Okay.
these two files.
This is just, you're just sharing information there, right?
Yeah, the Boyd, Boyd. It's 12404. We have to look and see.
Drug manufacturers got hit with fines for excess opioid sales.
We got recently $6.04. Now it's $1.30 as the total.
So our share was $6.04.
Here's the bank statements
Okay.
and the Fed reports that you can initiate.
Okay. So probably what's gonna happen, we have a couple line items on our budget for next year, like the insurance on this building needs to go up, and our internet, our phone bill's gonna go up some, and what's gonna happen is we're gonna submit the budget. It's gonna be pretty much like it was last year with a couple of exceptions there, a couple of increases. It goes to the, what's that agency called?
DLG, Department of Government and Finance.
Yeah, goes to them, and they'll probably kick it back to us this year and say you have to cut 10% or 15% or
Hopefully not.
something.
We'll
I bet
see.
they do. That's happened before.
So the town is actually taking this building now? It's now?
The town owns this building.
It's now?
Yes.
So everything, okay.
So, yeah, the upkeep of this building is pretty much fallen on the town, but there was some funds that came with the building that the previous owners, the corporation had, that your mother was involved with, and
Is that the Northern Indiana Community Foundation?
yeah.
And then what's up there is just considered now the sheriff's department or the?
The police marshals there.
Yeah, and that building, we're finishing up a brownfield project that the state of Indiana funded for us, and that building is gonna have to come down. It's horrible.
Yeah.
So, but we had to go,
When they first got it.
hmm?
It was horrible, I think, when they first.
Yeah, yeah, well, that was a long time ago. None of us were here then.
Yeah.
But yeah, so there were, like there was an underground fuel storage tank that had to be dug out.
That just got removed, didn't it?
Yeah, that
They brought it up
brownfield
there.
project, removed that, paid for it, filled it, they even dug around and down and checked for contamination. We had to have the well tested, and they're still doing groundwater testing there. Are they done? Yeah. Okay. So then we'll we'll have to,
There was 3 fuel tanks, and there was a hydraulic lift tank inside the garage. And there was oil residue in there, but it was all contained inside of a concrete like bunker. So all they had to do was pump the tanks out, remove the tanks, and backfill it with stone.
so all that was done legally and above board. Whether we just hired some local person, they just, none of that would have gotten taken care of. So we would have been in violation, so. I would entertain a motion to acknowledge the financial reports.
Bill said so, I'll second.
All in favor? And we need a motion to allow Val to pay the bills.
Motion to pay the bills.
Second.
All in favor?
I have these initial, these two.
I'm gonna have to requisition another pen.
Oh.
This is your copy of that, right?
Yes.
Okay. Anything else? Last chance for
She
tonight?
just asked, is he here every meeting?
When he can be.
Or just,
No, he's here most meetings.
that's what I thought, not yeah, sure. I wondered.
This is Andy Perkins, he's our town attorney.
Tell me.
I have two more things to.
Oh, okay. Did we already adjourn?
No, not yet. My budget workshop for DLGF is this Thursday.
Right.
The State Board of State Board caps that were audited, and I can't, they won't accept my corrections until the payroll fund is corrected.
Okay,
From 2018 and on, so I've been working on that.
okay.
And let's see, the budget hearing is September 16th at 6 p.m. here. The adoption is October 21st, 6 p.m. here. And
And again, that's us adopting it, that's not the state of Indiana adopting it.
and then Friday, Ed Haynes mentioned the police windshield was damaged. So I called the insurance company, and he sent me pictures, and I sent it to them, and he said, I'm gonna get it in with Rochester Glass to get it fixed. It happened the day before Fulton Fun Day. A rock hit it north of Fulton, he said.
Okay,
And that's all I have.
all right. Again, last chance. Motion for adjournment. All in favor?